Part of being in high school is becoming your own person. You develop hobbies of your own, a style of your own, and thoughts about your future that are all your own. At the same time, part of growing up is developing a personal faith of your own. It's not about having a counterfeit faith that's a copy of someone else's. With that in mind, I want to be clear and clear one thing up. What I'm not saying is a faith of your own equals a faith on your own. I'm not saying that you don't go to small group, you stop listening to sermons, or you skip church altogether. Experiencing faith for yourself isn't the same as experiencing faith by yourself. I'm just saying there's a time in every mature person's life when they go from believing what someone else says or copying what someone else does to having a faith of their own, a faith that is personal to them. Having a faith of your own doesn't mean that you never listen to anybody else. In fact, if you want to have a solid faith of your own, you'll need to involve other people, maybe even more than you think. I want to start by sharing an ancient piece of wisdom with you. I'm not exaggerating. In ancient cultures, books were written that contained nothing but wisdom and good advice. In the Jewish culture, those were collected into a book that we now call the Proverbs. And even though the advice is old, it's amazing how relevant it is in our lives right now. So let's go ahead and check that out. If I were to pick a verse every freshman had to memorize before starting high school, it might be this one. You don't have to be a Christian for this to be useful to you. It's true for everybody. The people that you choose to spend time with will affect your life. Hang out with the wise and you'll become smarter and do life better. Hang out with the fools and you'll get hurt. We can all think of celebrities who at 15, 16, or 17 years old seemed to be on a good path. Then something happened and things began to go downhill. And if you watch any type of documentary on their life years later, they almost all say the same thing. They began to surround themselves with foolish people. The Apostle Paul talks about a similar idea when he wrote to a church in Corinth. It was a church full of people that had decided to follow Jesus, but they were having a hard time giving up the not so great things that they had been doing before. They decided to follow Jesus, things that people around them continued to do. So Paul told them this. Here's what Paul is basically saying. If you want to move in a better direction, hang out with people who want to do the same thing. The wrong influences will impact you in ways that cause negative behaviors and outcomes. And just as the person who walks with the wise will be wise, the person who walks with fools will be foolish. You've probably seen this happen before. Maybe your best friend started hanging out with a certain guy. Everyone knew this guy was trouble. He was notorious for doing bad stuff, but your friend was clueless. What was the outcome? I'm willing to bet that your friend changed. How do I know? Well, it's because it's a timeless principle that is universally true. Walk with the wise and you'll grow wise, but bad company will corrupt your good morals. Yes, Jesus calls us to love everybody and spend time with people who aren't like us, but that doesn't mean that we invite foolish influences into our inner circle. We don't have to date just anybody. We don't trust everybody's advice, right? But this isn't just negative. It's equally true for the people who are good influences. Back to the book of Proverbs, and it says this. This is also true wisdom when it comes to the people around us. Stronger friends make us stronger. Strong friends make us sharper and better at whatever we're doing, including our faith. They will help us develop a faith that's more authentic and less counterfeit. But that only happens when the real us shows up. We all know what it's like to bring a counterfeit version of ourselves where we go. We know what it's like to talk in a way and act in a way that's not who we really are. And it's super tempting to be counterfeit in church. Whether you're a teenager or an adult, there's always a temptation to act like we've got it all together, like we don't need to grow, like we never need help. But when we do that, the real us misses out on a chance to grow. We need mentors, family members, and friends to help us be sharper and to help us move our faith from being a copy of someone else's to being our very own. The real us misses out on the chance to be sharpened and to get stronger. And sometimes faith feels less real because we're being less real. The good news is the opposite is true too. When you show up as your real authentic self and have real authentic conversations with your friends or your leader, God uses those to make your faith stronger and more personal. In other words, real faith grows with other people. That's why one of the best things that we can do for our lives and for our faith this week is to simply be real with those around us. And I'm not just talking about physically showing up. Maybe you need to show up mentally. Take a break from your phone and be all the way there. Maybe you need to start showing up for the people in your church or in your small group by actually hanging out with them at school and not just at church. You've been holding back because you don't know anyone that well, and it makes you feel uncomfortable. But if you want to grow in your faith, take a step and put yourself out there. Maybe you need some one-on-one time. You're dealing with some things that are just too difficult to figure out on your own. Or maybe you really want to take your faith to the next level and you've met someone older who seems like they could help. Today is a great day for you to start a conversation with your landing leader. You could say something like, hey, I really admire the way that you intentionally live out your faith, and I could really use some of your input. Would it be cool if you helped me find the right next step? Maybe you know someone who could really use some encouragement or truth spoken into their lives. And you know what would be great for you to encourage them, but you feel like you aren't qualified for the job. Maybe your next step is to approach that person, hang out with them, and allow God to use you. It's always possible for God to work through us. When you show up each week, it's not only so that you get the kind of friendships that you want, but so that you also become the kind of friend for someone else. Maybe take this time to pray and ask God to help you in that way so that you can help build someone else's faith. As we head out, don't miss this, all right? God wants us to make relationship with other people and to be involved in other people's life, to have personal, authentic relationships with people, including Him. As you head out today, I want you to think about the relationships that draw you closer to God. Who do you wish you could hang out with more because you want a faith that looks like their faith? It's not about copying their faith. It's about their faith encouraging your faith to grow more. Take a step. Make other people a priority in your faith journey because real faith only grows with other people.